Welcome back to Switch to Linux. So today what we're going to do is just do a real quick first impression distro review. Of course, when I say real quick, this is me. And so, real quick might mean 35, 45 minutes, who knows. But anyway, we're going to do a real quick first impression of the Deepin distro. So Deepin has been rising up on the on Distro Watch, and as of today, it is, I want to say it's like 8 or 9. Let me have a quick look over here. Let me go ahead and change this over here. So you'll see on the list here, for the last 6 months, Deepin has been on the rise. It's currently number 9. Let me see where it is in, let's see, last 7 days. One of the things that's helping its numbers, so it's actually like number 5 in the last 7 days. A lot of this is because they did just release a new release candidate. This is a 15.4 release candidate, and this is going to be the one that we have a look at today. And so before we jump over there, we're going to have a quick look at their website. So this is Deepin. I actually think I have this one, 15.04. Let me just have a quick look. Verify which one I actually have here. Okay, I have the 15.3. Just downloaded it today. It's 15.3. Now, I wanted to have a quick look at Deepin in the past, and a lot of the reason why I wanted to is because it actually has its own custom desktop environment. Kitty wanted to come up and say hi.
Hi, everybody. Use Deepin. It rocks.
All right. And so what I wanted to do is look at it because of the custom desktop environment, which is simply called the Deepin desktop environment, which is based on Qt5, I believe. And with the distro, it comes with a lot of custom pre-built softwares. It's designed sort of to be one of the distros where it's more all-inclusive. It has a lot of stuff already set to go. And so if you're looking for a distro like that, then this might be a choice for you. Of course, it is out of China. And it is put together, I don't know for sure. I don't know much about the project, but it is, I believe it is put together by a larger development team. So you can come over here, you can download. They have a 32 and a 64-bit version of it, so you can have a look at it there. And this is a distro that is based on Debian, and I would call it an official distro. There's a lot of custom software. They have a custom desktop environment. They have a custom installer. So there's everything that you'd bring into question when you're saying is this a distro or not is certainly in here. They also have their own custom Windows application runner launcher, similar to Play on Linux. We'll have a quick look at that. I wanted to see if it was any better than running Wine or Play on Linux. I'm not sure it is. But you can see their website here, Chinese and English, and there's a lot of different pieces of information. There's some things like the wiki is apparently down right now. Last time I came over here, they're upgrading it, so the wiki doesn't have any information at this point in time. I didn't look at the installation page. All right, so it does look like we have an installation page. You can see here that they do have a very nice user-friendly installer. The downside that I found about it is it does not seem to give you the option to install this alongside another Linux distro like your Ubuntu installer happens to run. And so with that, you have, let's see here. Now these are different applications that are custom in here, so you can have a look at what is on their website. It is quite extensive. So with that, what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and have a look at the distro. So one of the things I noticed is when you're running this is it does not have the doesn't have the ability, at least out of the box, to run full screen. So I built this little distro window here, see how this thing looks. It's kind of neat, so I thought I'd run with this, and who knows, maybe in the future when we do distro reviews, I'll do a setup like this. I'm not sure. But anyway, it was pretty cool. So we're looking at Deepin 15.3 here, and this is, of course, running in a VirtualBox. The VirtualBox has 8 gigs of RAM in it, appointed, so this does run pretty smooth. Some of the things that I noted out of the gate here is it is sort of built and set up sort of like as almost as a replacement, and it's hard to tell where they're looking at you, where you're coming from. It almost looks like they're targeting like a Mac user, but of course we have a launcher down here, like everything else, and here we have basically what is very similar to the GNOME 3 platform, although this is they say this is their own custom build out. So you can come over here and see the software that is installed by default. I did not make any adjustments or changes to anything in here. And so looking at their software choices, they have Google Chrome as their only browser, rather than having Firefox or anything else. Which to me is, I don't use Chrome. I moved to Linux for security and privacy, and the last thing I want to do is run Chrome if I'm worried about privacy. And so I don't use Chrome. I prefer to use Chromium for some tasks. My primary browser is always Firefox. Now they have WPS installed, which I think was an interesting choice here. I've actually had several requests to look at WPS, and if I remember correctly, I think this is what is installed on Ubuntu, although I think it is an older version, at least on my Ubuntu install. Just because I open these guys up, and it's actually resembles... Now, I'm getting this error after every time I open up a WPS package, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Some formula symbols may not, and I have no idea. Let's see. Of course, you can always just, let's see. Nah, we're not going to bother. Okay, well, that's not particularly helpful for me. Maybe for somebody. No, go away, keyring. All right. Now, of course, you can see here that WPS is kind of following the newer Office ribbon system. I do not care for this ribbon. I didn't like it in 2007. I'm not a fan of it now, even though I do use Microsoft Office quite a bit still for work purposes. I don't like the ribbon because it just takes me too long to find stuff. If there's a common feature, I know where to find it in the menus without these big cute little buttons all over, and I can, if it's something that I use regularly, I can customize my toolbar in LibreOffice so that I can set up my system how I like. Now, the other thing that I noticed about WPS, and I'll cover this when I look at WPS in more detail, is that there was actually this big EULA about it, and I never realized that there was this big EULA, and so it was, for me, it was just like, really? Kind of weird. But they have WPS writer, and actually what caused me to look at that is when we come in and we right-click on your desktop, you can, of course, create the new folders, but what you have here is Office text. Actually, these are now a little bit different. Let's see. No, I guess they were the same. So if you hit the Office text document, you'll see that the default is these actually changed. The logos changed on me. I think this might have happened in an update, because I do believe when I first installed that actually did say Microsoft Office or Office document in the right-click menu. I ran a system update, and I haven't looked at the system since I ran the system update. And I know this icon changed. So they're really trying to target you towards that Microsoft Office user here, even using the logo that is affiliated. I look at that logo and I think that's I think that's Microsoft Office logo. Of course, they're giving you your document is a .doc file, which is itself a little odd to me that it'd be a .doc instead of a .doc or a .docx like the current Microsoft Office documents are. Let's do not show that again. Thank you. Let's see what I can save as. See what my options are for saving as. So yeah, it's literally giving me an old Office format. There's the writer template. Okay, so here's the docx documents. So we do have those options to use those docx files. They do have HTML. I'm trying to see if you can actually export as a PDF. Okay, so you'll see here where it says recent documents, Word.doc was the default document name. So literally it did say Word.doc, Excel.doc, PowerPoint.doc. So I was not going crazy. Of course, I deleted that file prior to running this. But they did change the logos. They are really targeting that Microsoft Office crowd, however. They do have Skype pre-installed. This is version 4.3, the most recent Skype for Linux, which is it is okay. As a Skype user, I still generally use Skype on my Mac because A, I will not let Skype be on my Windows PC. They want to update automatically, blah, blah, blah. No, not happening. So I took it off all my Windows computers. I use Skype now generally on one of the tablets I have in the office or on the Mac computer. I will use it on the Linux computers. The problem with Skype for Linux is the 4.3, when you are viewing somebody else's shared screen, it comes out all pixelated, so it's pretty much useless. But it worked perfectly fine in a previous version. Microsoft literally broke it. So you get that. Now their file manager is their own custom file manager, but there's really nothing new or shocking. You can sort by lists, sort by titles. Here we have a lot of different options and settings inside of here. Okay. And then you can go to where your various systems are there. Let's see, there's computers in LAN. Okay. We do have some custom programs like the Deepin. This is the Deepin movie. I think this is movie player. Okay, so here's a Deepin movie player. And they have their Deepin movie player, Deepin terminal, Deepin, I think there's a music player on here somewhere as well. I thought there was. I'll have to find it. They do have, again, Spotify is another thing. Like, there's some things on this I wouldn't use. They do have Steam pre-installed, so hopefully that's ready to go for you Steam users out there, which I'm not one of. I did not click it correctly. Okay, so it looks like it's updating Steam as we go. We'll see what happens there. Document viewer. There are a lot of tools. That's what I like about the system, is it feels like it's ready to go without me having to get in and do anything else here. Their calendar settings are here. Let's have a quick look at our system monitor. See, we are pretty light. Even though we are running and updating Steam, it's still only at 700 megabytes of memory here, which is pretty good. So I'd say you can run this on a... oh, there's the Deepin music player. You can probably run this on a lower system. We also have Crossover is their custom plan for running Windows programs. And so what you can do here is click on the install. You can update it, and then... what you can do is they have basically preset and pre-configured some installer packages. So I can select an installer, and you actually would need to have some installer here in here to actually run it. But it'll actually allow you to pick, let's see, so here's your various bottles. I found that this does not seem to work any better than wine. The first thing I do when I find somebody saying, oh yeah, we can actually do some really good installs of Windows programs, I try and install, Adobe CS4, which doesn't work under wine. And so, with that application, I always try it, and I just kind of say, if that would actually work, if I could find a system that says that actually works, then I'll say, okay, no, but that's now better than wine. But for me, running on a Linux software, if you need to run the odds and ends Windows program, use Play on Linux, use Wine, and I'm not completely sure if, okay, so there's the Steam. I'm guessing that this would probably work just fine if I actually had a login for that. So anyway, but it is neat. They do have this crossover function is built into the system. Again, enough tools here. We have a driver manager. Okay, I think that's about everything there. So you can kind of get our feel. It looks like there's some patches need to be updated. All right, let's see. So, okay. So there's it's working just fine, but I could install the firmware for the Intel CPUs. I'm not going to bother with that in the VirtualBox. What I do want to show, there's a clock here, which will show you the calendar. I've not seen... I'm guessing you can. Let me try something with the writer up here. I'm going to load up the writer, and I'm going to see if... okay, let's see. Let's see if I can keep that. Okay, so that's how you keep it in the dock. Okay, so that's the U undocks it. I was not able to see that. I tried to do that when I had first done that. I think the update may have fixed it. So you can add something to the dock by right-clicking and docking it, or you can undock it like this. Now, the other thing that really makes the desktop environment a little bit different here is the control center, which comes out to the side here, so it pops out just like this. And with your control center, you have the ability to adjust user accounts. This is a very nice system here. So you can pick your image, or you can set your own. We'll pick the cute little kitty. All right, kitty, make my other kitty jealous. All right, and then you have your display over here. Again, these are the only resolutions available to me right now. I did not attempt to install guest editions. This is based on Debian, so it should work just fine. I just did not bother trying. Here's your default applications, so you can pick which applications you want to run. Mail client. That's interesting. I remember that being a little bit more detail when I was in here last. Okay. So for your windows, you have a couple different window managers. You can pick your more traditional. You can pick your darken ones. I think I'm on darken right now. The default is just the regular Deepin. Here's your icons. Okay, the C was actually installed. The Deepin and the flatter were there when I had first started. So we'll pick the C ones there. Kind of have this C theme. That's kind of why I went with this little background I chose. There was this one. There was another one that looked kind of watery, but I thought the other one had too many bright things. I didn't want to run with that. Network is there. So you can see there's a whole lot in this control center here. This control center is pretty rockin'. I got to say, I like this control center. Overall, looking through this, playing with everything in here, I think if I were looking for a nice, good, modern UI, this might be a choice. It almost feels a little bit too much like GNOME for me, which I'm not a big fan of GNOME, and so I'm not sure if I'd necessarily specifically want to run it. But you can actually change the default boot. So if you do have more boot system, boot options on your computer, you can actually pick from those. Here's your boot delay. Text color, and selected text color. So you can see that these are how you theme it up. You can also turn that off, and then it will basically just change how your theming looks on your boot menu. Here's your system information. You can see what I'm running on here. Deepin edition is 15.3. Here's all my system specs. And then we do have the update as well. So here it does say the system is up to date. This guy here will give you a notification if there happens to be an update. It is checking for him now. I'm pretty sure it will not find any just because I just updated it. Now, another of the downsides, you can get to that by hovering in the lower right corner, or you can click on the settings panel to get to it. We do have the shutdown options here as well. One of the negative things I found is that it installs updates like Windows. I had no idea, because I updates, sure. So I installed the updates, and I get a notice. It's like the computer has to restart to install updates. Like, what? So it literally goes into a shutdown just like Windows 10 does. And it's like, don't turn off your computer. We're installing updates. Like, what? So it's kind of weird that they've kind of combined a Mac and a Windows computer together to produce this operating system, and they gave you a lot of interesting options and interesting settings here. And so with that, hey, 20 minutes. This is a real quick walkthrough. Would I recommend this? I think it's an interesting distro. This is definitely cool. I like the new spin on the notifications panel, like the control panel there. Obviously, I would do things like uninstall Google Chrome and install some other web browsers. Looks like Thunderbird is your default. I'd get rid of WPS Office. Those EULAs kind of scare me a little bit, so I'd install LibreOffice. Other than that, I'd pretty much keep it much the same. But it feels a little bit too much like GNOME for me, which is not a system I like to work in. But overall it is a very nice distro here. So overall, I'd kind of give this a good hearty thumbs up. I'd say this is a nice distro, and has a lot of flexibility, a lot of customization. I guess not a whole ton, and I'm guessing you could probably go online, find some other themes. I didn't look at installing icon packs, but let's have a look at that real quick. Let's look at the file manager. Let's just have a look at the system files here. So system disk. And let's just look for themes and icons where you might find them. So here's where your icons are. So you can see some of these are for the cursors, some of these are for the icons, some of these are for the desktop settings. So I'm guessing that installing your own custom icons, that's another thing I'd probably do, is I'd probably change the icons around just to get something more modern. Although this C theme icons are pretty cool looking. But overall, very neat distro. I like what I see here, and just wanted to bring this up to you. Now, this is, if I remember correctly, I think this is still a beta. It's just a release candidate right now, and so keep that in mind. But overall, it seems to be running pretty smooth. So with that, this has been Tom with a first impressions look at Deepin 15.3, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.